I mean, there would be no Spike if there were no me. So you can't say like, well, Eddie hasn't done enough because, hey, you here, ain't you? You know, that's basically the way I feel about it.
I love Spike Lee. I seen Spike come on the show last week, and women said, "Wah!" And Spike looks like a cricket.
I'm an actor, and when people come to see my films, they don't come to see the revolution, they come to laugh, you know? And if I could do something on the subliminal tip that a person can see something and take something with them, that's cool. But
that's gold. I ain't seen no stereotypical that was successful since the 70s.
It has more dimensions than it had. Back when I started, there was no black Hollywood.
Spike Lee called Eddie Murphy a sellout in public, on the record. Said Eddie had the most power of any black man in Hollywood and was doing nothing with it. Now most people would have ignored that. Eddie Murphy clapped back, called Spike a cricket on national television. But here is what nobody talks about. Behind closed doors, Eddie Murphy admitted Spike was right.
He's a brilliant filmmaker. His movies are brilliant. He's hysterical. He's wonderful on camera. But Spike is not fine. He yells, "Wah!" And he looks like a cricket. And now Spike is somewhere thinking, I'm fine.
And then Hollywood stepped in, took the one project that was finally going to unite them, and handed it to Mick Jagger and a white director. What happened next tells you everything about how black Hollywood really works. Let us go back to 1989. Eddie Murphy is the biggest star on the planet. Not the biggest black star, the biggest star, period.
I can't, you know, when my movies go, wake up! I can't do that, you know. That's not my thing.
Coming to America just made $250 million. Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, 48 Hours. The man could sneeze on a script and it would open at #1. Spike Lee, meanwhile, is coming off Do the Right Thing, a film that made the entire country uncomfortable, a film that got snubbed for Best Picture at the Oscars. Spike is making noise. He is making films that matter. And he is watching Eddie Murphy print money at Paramount and not using any of that leverage to open doors for black directors, black writers, or black crew. So Spike does what Spike does. He goes to the press and calls Eddie out.
It has more dimensions than it had. Back when I started, there was no black Hollywood. Literally, there was no. You had a couple of black folks that was working. When Richard Pryor was starring in all the movies. He was getting the lead in all the movies, and you didn't really have blacks in leads. It started after the black exploitation era in the 70s. So when I showed up, there was no black Hollywood. So I love now that there's almost like a diversity. It's so many different types of black actors and actresses now.
Publicly, he says Eddie has been neglectful with his influence, that he is not using his power at Paramount to put black people in positions of power. Eddie Murphy, sitting on top of the world, claps back. He calls Spike a cricket on Arsenio Hall's show on national television. He says Spike gets over anxious playing that militant brother role and occasionally says some stupid stuff.
Can we agree that Spike Lee's a little hater? That dude hate on everybody. He hate on Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy said it, he's right. Without me, there wouldn't be no Spike Lee. He said what he said. Spike Lee, you little burnt little hobbit.
Two of the most powerful black men in Hollywood talking about each other like they are on two different teams. And here is the thing. In a way, they were. But unlike most celebrity feuds, this one actually got resolved. And the way it got resolved is what makes this story different. In 1990, Spike Lee and Eddie Murphy sat down together for Spin magazine. A real conversation, no PR people softening the edges. And what came out of that conversation was so raw, so honest, that it should be required reading for anyone who cares about black Hollywood. Spike asked Eddie directly, why have we not worked together? Why are there all these separate camps? The Spike camp, the Eddie camp, the Keenan camp, the Robert Townsend camp, and nobody is crossing over.
I used to see stereotypes every now and then. You would see them in the 70s and stuff, but people don't do stereotypical stuff now. Like, think about the last 20 years. Who wants to even see a movie about with some stereotypical characters? What's the
And Eddie said something that stopped the interview cold. He said, black people do not work together because they are scared. Not lazy, not selfish, scared. He said every black person who ever really stood up and said, "This is what I am about," got destroyed for it. Dr. King, Muhammad Ali, every single one of them got taken apart by the system. So what happens is black people reach a certain level of success, they pull their circle in tight.
Always talking about keep it real. We have 25 years of keeping it real and being real and all that. And you really see that's reflected in the movies that they made. The characters are trying to be reflective of, you know, people in society, and the stereotype, especially some stereotype successful.
Protect what they have. And the idea of risking that by collaborating with someone else becomes terrifying, because if it goes wrong, you might lose everything. And a lot of people are not in a position to come back from that. Then Eddie said something that nobody expected. He said he was sitting in his own office. His office, Eddie Murphy Productions, with Mike Tyson and Don King, three of the most powerful black men in the world, in the same room at the same time. And when the conversation turned to race and power, they started whispering in their own building. He said, "They got you so scared that you whisper in your own house about them." That is not a soundbite. That is a confession from the most powerful black entertainer alive at that moment, admitting that the fear was so deep, even he could not fully shake it.
Because the black exploitation era of the 70s, those movies were made by, like, you know, white producers, and white Hollywood made those pictures. And I'm really happy that it's the black youth, because most of the people that are doing it, these young black people that just weren't having it anymore. And I got my own vision, so yeah, I'm real happy.
Now here is where it gets good. After that interview, the world started hearing rumors of Spike and Eddie finally doing something together, an actual project, and it was gonna be massive. James Brown, think about what that means. Eddie Murphy doing James Brown, a man he had been impersonating since Saturday Night Live in 1982. James Brown himself told Eddie he should play him. He said, "They ain't gonna laugh if you do it serious," and Eddie knew it. He called Spike's script for the James Brown biopic the most incredible script he had ever read. He said James Brown's story had everything: sex, drugs, chaos, genius, survival. He said it was bananas. Spike was hired in 2006, the same year James Brown died, to write and direct the film. Eddie Murphy was attached to star. This was the collaboration that was supposed to happen. Decades in the making. The two men who publicly feuded, privately reconciled, and spent years circling each other finally had their project. And then Hollywood took it away. Brian Grazer fired Spike Lee, just like that. Replaced him with Tate Taylor, the white director who made The Help, the film that a lot of people in the black community called a sanitized, feel-good version of the civil rights era, told from the perspective of the white woman who saved everybody. That is who replaced Spike Lee on the James Brown biopic. And Mick Jagger was a co-producer with his fingerprints all over that decision. Eddie Murphy was out too. Chadwick Boseman ended up playing James Brown in the 2014 film Get On Up. God rest his soul, Chadwick was brilliant. But that is not the point. The point is that Spike Lee wrote what Eddie Murphy called the most incredible script he had ever read, about one of the greatest black entertainers who ever lived, and a white producer and a rock star from England decided it was not going in the direction they wanted. Tell me, that is not exactly what Eddie Murphy warned about in 1990. Flash forward to today. Black Hollywood is more visible than it has ever been. Ryan Coogler made Black Panther and turned it into a generational moment. Kendrick Lamar stood on the Super Bowl stage in front of 100 million people. Tyler Perry owns a 330-acre studio lot in Atlanta. Jordan Peele went from sketch comedy to directing some of the most talked about films of the last decade. The names are there. The money is there. The audience is there, but the camps are still there too. You still do not see these power players combining forces the way the studios they work for have always done. You do not see the compounding that the other side of Hollywood has been quietly building for 100 years. And when black artists do speak up, when Taraji P. Henson broke down in tears at the Color Purple press tour, talking about being underpaid on a film about black women's survival.
Well, that was like some one-time thing. So you fall back to the bottom and you gotta negotiate and fight tooth and nail to get what you made the last time. Where's my raise? I haven't seen a raise in my income since Proud Mary. And almost had to walk away from Color Purple. Yes, ma'am.
The response was not always unity. The whispers are still happening. The fear Eddie Murphy described in 1990 did not go away. It just got a bigger budget. Here is what I keep coming back to. Spike Lee and Eddie Murphy had one of the realest conversations about black power and black fear that Hollywood has ever produced. They cleared the air, they agreed on the problem, they finally had a project that would have been a landmark. And a white producer fired Spike and handed the movie to the guy who made The Help. That is not a conspiracy theory, those are the receipts. Eddie Murphy said black people reach a level of success and whisper in their own house.
Fuck that trend. It was like, you know, I'm casted as a sidekick, but you 48 hours, it's like, I'm supposed to be the sidekick, but the hero can't do his job unless, like every other scene, he's like, what do we do next, convict? Now what's our next move, convict? Now where do we go? So it's like, I'm like, and they had never seen that. And it's not like we sat down and said, hey, we're gonna flip the script. That's just how, you know, Providence, it just worked out like that.
Because they are afraid of what they might lose. But what this story actually shows is that the fear is not irrational. The collaboration was real. The script was real. The project was real. And it was still taken away. The question is not whether Eddie Murphy was right in 1990. The question is, what are we going to do about it now? Because Spike and Eddie still never made a movie together. And the James Brown film that was supposed to be theirs, it exists. You can stream it right now. They are just not in it. If that does not tell you everything you need to know about how Black Hollywood actually works, I do not know what will. Drop a comment below. Do you think Eddie Murphy was right? And if you want more stories about what is really going on behind the scenes in Black Hollywood, hit subscribe because we are just getting started.